It's November 26, 2010. We're at a packed Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Down 21-27 in the fourth quarter, Auburn is scrapping to save their magical undefeated season. Not only could their title hopes be ruined, but it would come at the hands of their biggest rival, Alabama. Before this next snap, we need to understand a role reversal taking place between these teams, the hatred between these schools, and how an underdog quarterback surrounded by controversy is on the brink of delivering a final blow that will send shockwaves not only through the state of Alabama, but the whole nation. To do that, we need to rewind. Down 6, the Tigers face a 3rd and 4 from Alabama's 7-yard line. Yeah, there's 12 minutes left on the clock, but knowing this stingy Alabama defense, Auburn isn't guaranteed another shot like this. Getting a touchdown here would put them one step closer to snatching a victory against a team who they share just a tad of history with. This is the 75th Iron Bowl, a showdown between these teams that dates all the way back to 1893. We're talking a century plus years of hate. Firstly, you gotta understand there's no professional sports in the state of Alabama. So this game really is the game every year. It's a 365-day beef within the state that comes to a head when the teams touch the field. Off the field, things can even get a little carried away between fans. There was a 41-year stretch where these teams didn't play because football would just intensify the hate. It was that real. When the series finally renewed, the only common ground the two schools could find was agreeing to play at the neutral site of Legion Field in Birmingham. That stadium hosted a number of nail-biting battles between the two schools, but Bama upgraded their stadium, and in 2000, the Iron Bowl touched down on Alabama's campus at Bryant-Denny for the first time in series history. While Bama typically saw Auburn as their little brother, it was the Tigers who dominated the 2000s and earned the bigger piece of chicken at family dinner. Although the tide could be turning back in Alabama's favor as they won the past two matchups. Auburn looks to keep feasting here and top off the decade with a sweet treat of beating their most hated rival. But just 2 quarters ago, that treat tasted like shit. Luckily for Auburn, they've turned shit into sugar all season. Coming into the 2010 season, Auburn set some high expectations for themselves. Entering his second year as head coach, Gene Chizik and his coaching staff hammered into this team that 8 ain't it, a motto referring to the Tigers' win total from the previous year. While 8 wins certainly won't sniff a chance at a BCS Bowl, Chizik inherited a squad that wasn't deep enough at key positions. Luckily, Chizik didn't have to do everything alone. He brought on Gus Malzahn, one of the top offensive minds in college football. Despite having very few playmakers, Gus came in and immediately revamped a poor offense into one of the more lethal units in the country. And this season, Auburn's offense continued to steamroll under Malzahn's hurry-up, no-huddle system, which pounced on defenders being out of place. You know what the old football cliche says, though? Defense wins championships. And Auburn's defense has been pretty mid so far this year. Just like on offense, the defense lacked depth and experience. When it mattered most, though, this Auburn defensive unit came alive. Already this season, Auburn has survived 3 games where they trailed by 10 points or more. They came up big in an early test against Clemson, giving up just 7 points in the second half before winning in overtime. Against Georgia, they gave up 21 points in the first quarter. From there, the defense trapped in and held UGA scoreless in just 2 quarters. They've been clutch in the second halves of games, shutting out 4 teams in the fourth quarter. But Auburn escaped all those games at home. And in this game on the road, that second half performance was needed a little earlier. Auburn actually got their spark as Bama tried to finish the job early. With 12:38 in the second quarter, running back Mark Ingram caught the ball upfield with his eyes set on the end zone. But Ingram slipped, leaving room for defensive end Antoine Carter to track him down and punch out the ball, which the defense freely watched fly 12 yards into the back of the end zone. Here's the thing. Footballs aren't supposed to land and keep rolling in a near straight line. Footballs have edges. and those edges typically catch the grass and send the ball shooting sideways. On that play, Auburn caught a physics-defying moment, and it was just what they needed. From there, they were lights out. On the flip side, Bama is known for their defense, and they find themselves with a chance to come up big in a major moment. That's kind of what Bama's become known for, thanks to one man, head coach Nick Saban. The University of Alabama was a mess in the early 2000s. Plagued with sanctions, involved in the loss of scholarships, Bama could never stay consistent. With Bama searching for a fresh start, Saban came on but struggled to immediately right the ship. Shaking off year one, Saban transformed the Crimson Tide program, improving the school's win total each year and snatching the national championship in just his third season. That feat was unthinkable just a few years ago and earned the coach a statue. 'Cause yeah, giving a coach a statue after 3 seasons seems totally normal and has nothing to do with the obsessive nature of football in the state of Alabama. Anyways, with the squad returning double-digit starters and a roster filled with players ready to suit up on Sundays, it was no surprise they were chosen as the preseason #1 overall team. But things didn't necessarily go as planned. After 5 weeks of cruising through competition, Alabama suffered a Week 6 loss against South Carolina on the road. Then 3 weeks later, took another L in an upset by rival LSU. With their second loss, both in conference, the SEC championship and a shot at repeating seemed out of range. But this was still a dominant squad with freak athletes at every position that hadn't lost in 20 straight home games. Plus, while championships are nice, if Alabama could only win 1 game each year, they wanted to be the one against Auburn. So it didn't come as a surprise that Bama entered the game as a favorite, despite their 2 losses. And as the game kicked off, Bama played just like it. They ran up the count quickly, scoring touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. Auburn simply didn't have an answer for Bama's force. Luckily for Auburn, though, football games don't end after 1 quarter. On top of the defense stepping up, they've got a superhero playing quarterback. That guy right there, that's Cameron Newton. The road it took him to get here was filled with all types of potholes, fallen trees, slow drivers in front of him, you know what I mean, adversity. Cam Newton flat out balled at Westlake High School in Georgia. At 6'5", 220 pounds, the 5-star prospect was highly recruited coming out of high school. It's just universities wanted him to play tight end. Only 3 schools offer him a spot at quarterback, one of which being the University of Florida, where Cam eventually committed. The Gators already had their quarterback of the future in Tim Tebow, a sophomore fresh off helping his team win the national championship. Cam's spot to hold Tebow's clipboard wasn't even guaranteed, and that was before he suffered a season-ending injury in the home opener of his sophomore season. If that wasn't enough to endure, Cam certainly didn't help his case off the field. Cam got a little handsy with a laptop. The story goes that Cam swiped a laptop that was eventually reported as stolen by another student. When the laptop was traced to Cam's dorm, police questioned him, and the laptop somehow found its way into a garbage can outside his dorm with his name written in white paint on the front. Yeah, I mean, it does sound a little fishy, but who doesn't like to add a little flair to their laptop? I typically go with stickers. Cam just went with paint. Who am I to judge? Well, the university police did, and Cam was arrested. Sprinkle just a smidge of alleged academic misconduct on top of all that, and Cam's time as a Gator came to an end. He kept it moving, transferring to Blinn College, a small junior college in the middle of nowhere, Texas. Putting up absurd numbers and leading the school to a national championship, Blinn was simply a redemption tour for Cam to prove his worth and make his way back to Division I football. Now the #1 junior college prospect in the country, with several offers thrown his way, it was time for Cam to make a decision. He saddled up and hit the Plains, where he looked to become Auburn's starting quarterback. While he initially had to compete for the starting role, Cam earned the job even before summer practice began. Plus, Malzahn's system was tailored for an athletic dual-threat QB like Cam. He was a menace whenever he touched the field. Whether it was torching teams through the air or annihilating you on the ground, Cam couldn't be stopped. That was never more true than during his Heisman moment against number 6 LSU. Tied at 10, with just under 12 minutes to go in the third quarter, Cam called his own number and took over the game. He took a QB keeper up the middle of the field, split through defenders, stumbled, and had the ability to switch gears like it was nothing as he found his way into the end zone. It was an extraordinary feat of athleticism and a play rarely ever made by a quarterback. But for Cam and Auburn, the road to a national championship still ran through Tuscaloosa and a battle for state bragging rights. But as easy as it was on the field for Cam, off of it, things were once again less smooth. See, getting Cam to Auburn wasn't that easy. He had several major programs fighting for him to join their school. One of those schools had a little more involvement than others, Mississippi State. The NCAA launched an investigation alleging a pay-for-play deal. The NCAA claimed that Cam's father, Cecil Newton, saw upwards of $100,000 from a Mississippi State booster in exchange for Cam to lace up his cleats for state. Despite the allegations being just that, allegations, the Crimson Tide fans didn't need to hear anything else. They took any and every jab they could at Cam's situation. Come game time, Cam looked lost. Bama's defense grinded away at Auburn as the team didn't see a first down until the second quarter. The only time Auburn's offense looked remotely alive in the first half was when Cam hit receiver Emory Blake for a 36-yard touchdown, making the score 24-7 going into halftime. Whatever was said in the locker room, the Tigers came out in the second half like a completely different team. Led by the dude that got him there, Cam let loose. In just 2 plays out the half, Cam hit Terrell Zachary on a deep bomb that he took all the way for a 70-yard touchdown. Just like that, it's 24-14 and Cam's got his swag back. He rolled around on the field in excitement like a kid who finally got some candy after begging their parents. Later in the third, Cam marched his team down the field 75 yards in 8 plays, punching in a 1-yard touchdown, 21-24. The momentum had clearly shifted Auburn's way, and it looked as if Cam refused to let his team lose. Now we're here. It's 3rd and 4, and Cam is on the verge of willing his team to take the lead against Auburn's most bitter rival. If Cam Newton can get his team into the end zone, it'll cap off not only a remarkable comeback, but it'll be the highlight of a redemption story. If they come up short, Bama has a chance to ruin their rival's season and shut down any talks of who's best in the state. It comes down to Gus Malzahn drawing up the perfect play for his Heisman hopeful versus Nick Saban and his terrorizing Crimson Tide squad. One play here could be the determining factor for Auburn's miracle season. So let's sit back and watch what happens next. Welcome to a moment in history.
Cam takes the snap, looking for the receiver. He's got Lutz and Kirkin. Touchdown Auburn! Touchdown Auburn! Lutz and Kirkin. He threw it back across the field.
All right, let's put a bow on this. Auburn had to make a few stops. Cam converted a risky 4th down conversion over the top on their own 37-yard line. They killed some clock and made Bama turn the ball over on downs late in the 4th. Ball game. What up, y'all? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Every time you do, a beautiful angel gets its wings. If you want to see some more crazy matchups between these two teams, check out this video. Or if you're interested in seeing how Cam Newton's career progressed after Auburn, check out this video.